going on, everybody? Welcome back into the Fantasy Pros YouTube channel. My name is Lucas Wenzel, and today we are talking about 10 players that you should be looking to stash ahead of this weekend slate and ahead of next week's waivers as well. But before we dive into that list, do you want a chance at winning a signed Dak Prescott Dallas Cowboys jersey, courtesy of Pristine Auction, the premier autographed sports memorabilia auction house? You need to subscribe to the Fantasy Pros YouTube channel right now, comment below on this video, and that's it. We will be announcing a winner right here on the channel, so make sure to turn on those notifications so you can know when new videos are up and to claim your prize. And hey, even if you don't win, you can still sign up at pristineauction.com using the link in our video description, and if you use the registration code FantasyPros, you'll get $10 off your first order. Let's kick off our stashes with Los Angeles Chargers wide receiver Quentin Johnston, who's rostered in 19% of leagues. Johnston had a career best day in week 8, catching 5 of his 6 targets for 50 yards. Now that only equated to 10 fantasy points, but what I'm more interested in is that his percentage of snaps rose to 70% from 57% the week prior. Joshua Palmer sustaining a knee injury during the game likely plays a big factor in that, but as we get deeper into the season, I wouldn't rule out the possibility of Quentin Johnston gaining more and more opportunities in this Chargers offense. Second on my list is new Buffalo Bills running back Leonard Fournette, who's already rostered in 28% of leagues. Now, the Bills did only sign him to the practice squad, but Leonard Fournette isn't the kind of player you just keep on the practice squad. The signing in and of itself has multiple question marks around it. How much will he chip into James Cook's work? Will he be involved in the passing game, since that's where he thrived in his later years with Tampa Bay? Are the Bills not happy with the goal line production from Latavius Murray, so they're going to try and turn playoff Lenny into a goal line back? Look, the signing brings a lot of murkiness to the Bills' backfield, but as long as they're an ultra-competitive playoff contender, I'd look to stash Lombardi Lenny. Coming in next is Brandon Cooks, wide receiver for the Dallas Cowboys, who's rostered in 44% of leagues. It hasn't been pretty for the 9-year vet in his 10th year in the league, as he's had no more than 4 targets in all but 1 game this year. However, he's hit pay dirt in each of his last 2 games, and I'm willing to chase the points here. As he's starting to find some success in this Dallas Cowboys offense, I'm curious to see if his role begins to expand. It also helps that he draws great matchups with the Eagles, Giants, Commanders, Seahawks, and Eagles again in 5 of his next 6 games. Up next is Seattle Seahawks running back Zach Charbonnet, who's rostered in 44% of leagues. The second-round rookie out of UCLA looked great on Sunday, averaging 10 yards per carry and logged 2 catches as well. His 31 snaps were more than Ken Walker's 24 in week 8, but that was most likely influenced by Walker coming into the game banged up. That being said, though, the door has been opened for Zach Charbonnet to chip into more of Ken Walker's snaps in the coming weeks. Similarly to Quentin Johnston, the further we get into the season, the less surprised I would be to see Walker and Charbonnet become this dynamic duo in the Seattle backfield. My tight end stash of the week is Gerald Everett of the Los Angeles Chargers, who's rostered in 24% of leagues. Prior to missing week 8, Everett had scored in back-to-back games, leading to back-to-back top 10 finishes at the position. Had he suited up last week, that trend would have potentially continued as we saw his teammate Donald Parham find the end zone against the Bears. Now in week 9, he draws the New York Jets on Monday Night Football, who are top 10 in fantasy points allowed to the position and have given up 5 touchdowns in 7 games to tight ends. With Kirk Cousins done for the year and multiple key quarterbacks on bye, I would look to stash Buccaneers quarterback Baker Mayfield, who's rostered in 40% of leagues. Over the last 3 weeks, only Derek Carr and Jared Goff have attempted more passes than Baker Mayfield. Baker has also finished as a top 12 fantasy quarterback in 3 of his last 4 games, while scoring 20 plus fantasy points in 2 of those games. His schedule coming up isn't all that bad either, drawing the Texans, Titans, the reeling 49ers, the Colts, and the Panthers over the next 5 weeks. Our next stash on the list is Jacksonville Jaguars wide receiver Zay Jones, who's rostered in 21% of leagues. Let's first get the 2 obvious things out of the way. The Jaguars are on bye in week 9, and Zay Jones has missed 5 of the last 6 games. Both are actually reasons why I'm interested in stashing Zay Jones now rather than later. He drew 13 targets over the first 2 weeks of the season before missing weeks 3 and 4, He was also on pace to hit that number again in week 5 before he left in the second half against the Bills. What intrigues me, though, is that Zay Jones has seen 7 red zone targets this year in only 2.5 games played. There is solid touchdown upside once he returns, and if that is in week 10, he could be a great depth piece to add to your roster. Next on this list is Los Angeles Rams running back Royce Freeman, who's rostered in 25% of leagues. Since both Kyren Williams and Ronnie Rivers both landed on IR, Royce Freeman has been given a decent amount of work, totaling 21 rushing attempts over the last 2 weeks. In each of those games, he's finished as the running back 32 or better, including a top 24 finish in week 8. He's averaging 5.2 yards per carry as well, and even outsnapped his counterpart Darrell Henderson last Sunday. As long as both Kyren and Rivers are out, Royce should be stashed away and could even turn in a solid performance against a subpar Green Bay Packers run defense this weekend. Let's turn now to Juju Smith-Schuster, New England Patriots wide receiver, who's rostered in 19% of leagues. This isn't an exciting stash. It's absolutely not a sexy stash, but it might just be a necessary stash. Kendrick Bourne tore his ACL in week 8, and he's done for the season. Devontae Parker also left Sunday's game with a head injury, and as of this recording, he hasn't practiced yet this week. It wouldn't be surprising if Parker misses time considering his history with concussions, and that leaves Demario Douglas and Juju Smith-Schuster to hold down the Patriots wide receiver room. In a solid matchup against the Commanders this week, Juju may have just stumbled his way into fantasy relevance out of no doing of his own. Our last waiver wire stash of the week is Devin Singletary, Houston Texans running back, who's rostered in 24% of leagues. If you've been watching this series all season long, you'll know that this is the 3rd week in a row Devin Singletary has made this video. I'll keep it short and sweet for you though. Dameon Pierce is no longer the workhorse in this backfield. Singletary and Pierce have split snaps and touches in their last 2 games, and on the season, Singletary has been the more efficient back. I'm not excited for the matchup with the Buccaneers this week, but if Dameon Pierce does miss any time this year, Singletary could and probably should get a majority of the work. Alrighty, y'all, that is all I have for you today. Remember, do you want a chance at winning a signed Dak Prescott Dallas Cowboys jersey, courtesy of Pristine Auction, the premier autographed sports memorabilia auction house? You need to subscribe to the FantasyPros YouTube channel right now, comment below on this video, and that is it. That is all you need to do. We will be announcing a winner right here on the channel, so make sure to turn on those notifications so you can know when new videos are up and to come claim your prize. And hey, if you didn't win, you can still sign up at pristineauction.com using the link in our video description, and if you use the registration code FantasyPros, you'll get $10 off your first order.